Tom Hopkins famously said, "You don't get paid to give presentations, you get paid to close sales." Today we'll talk about what closing is, some quick hints and tips, and then also the best closing sequence I've ever come across in over 3 decades in the business. It's simple, elegant, non-threatening, easy. I think you'll like it. It's all I use. So what is closing? Closing, my favorite definition of it really is helping people rationalize a decision that's good for them. And there's a lot packed in there. So number one, it's good for them. So this is coming from the position that what you're offering, what you're selling, what you're proposing is something that you truly believe is good. That's the kind of ethical sales I've always believed in. I'm assuming you do the same thing. So it's maybe goes without saying, but at the same time, I want to make sure I say it. So it's helping people rationalize a decision that's good for them. The second one is you're helping them rationalize it, which means you're getting them to maybe look at a different perspective, having them look at the big picture, giving them some facts and figures, getting them some different ideas. But what it's not is lying, manipulating, obfuscating, or leaving information out. So it's rationalizing, it's rational, but it's not trickery. Okay, that's very important. It's basically getting people to see what you're doing from a perspective that shows them it's good for them. Okay, closing is also, you could say, is really the transition between telling and selling. It's that in your mind, it's that moment when now you're not just telling anymore, you're not just showing anymore, you're not just demonstrating, but you're moving into the point where you want them to take action. And also closing is in fact getting someone to take action. And it doesn't have to be a sale, by the way. A close could be closing for the next appointment. It could be closing for them agreeing for you to do a proposal. It could be even them agreeing to do their own research. Maybe you recommend a book or some articles or a video or something, and them agreeing to do that. That's a close. You're closing for the next step. Closing is also really a sequence that starts from the moment that you prospect them, where you're getting for small yeses, getting them to agree to maybe listen to you on the phone or in person, and then you agree to do a sit down, whether that's virtual or in real life, to do a proposal, on and on and on until the final close. So even though I said a moment ago it's going from telling to selling, but really you're almost selling, ethical selling, all the way along the way. You're getting a lot of minor yeses. Maybe you've all heard this before, but you ask yourself, are you really doing that? Are you in fact getting commitments along the way, small minor commitments, okay? Don't sell past the close. Once they've agreed to whatever the next step is, I mean, we're primarily talking about actually closing the final sale, but either way, once you've got it, stop. If you sell past it, if you try to over-convince, 2 things will happen. One, you're going to annoy them. They're like, dude, I got it. I'm ready to go. Okay. The second one is that it demonstrates or could demonstrate some nervousness, some amateurishness, and you almost don't know what to say. You don't know what to do with it. It's like a friend that begs you to go to this movie that you kind of really don't want to see, and then you finally agree, and then they keep selling you on this movie after you've agreed. You start getting annoyed. Like, dude, I'm going. I said I'm going. Just let it go. Okay, it's that. And the thing is, your friend might say that to you, but your clients or prospects won't say anything to you. But they're thinking, geez, I already said yes. Stop. Okay, so don't sell past the close. Also note, a good closing question or a good closing sequence, very rarely it can be a statement, but usually it's a question. But the point is, a good closing attempt will do one of 2 things. Either one, it'll close or move the process forward to the next step, which is a close to the next step. Or it'll smoke out what the real objection is, or at least get closer to it. And either one's okay. You don't have to always, the success isn't always closing the sale. That's the ultimate end goal, and you don't get paid until you do. But at the same time, attempting to close, as long as a client isn't 100% a no, the good thing is it'll start getting them to even for themselves, actually, to out loud say, what's the problem? What's the hindrance? What's the obstacle here? Why am I not going forward? And oftentimes they need to talk it out themselves. Okay? So it's very important. So it's not, if you try to close and it's kind of a no, but then you can smoke it out, that's a success, okay? A concept I want you to have during the whole closing sequence, or really your whole appointment, is act like a lamb, sell like a lion, also from Tom Hopkins. Now what that means is your personality, your demeanor has to be lamb-like. Now, I don't mean a pushover. I don't mean cowering. But it has to be soft and gentle. I've talked about the metaphor of being in a jacuzzi together, right? And you never want to create huge waves, but you make slight little movements to get people to kind of move around, but they're moving around in a warm, comfortable, very nice, enjoyable environment, right? You never aggressively, right? So you're lamb-like, however you want, whatever metaphor you want to use, but you're soft and gentle. But you're lion-like in that you don't quit. Of course, there's a point where when the no is a no and you've got to stop. But most advisors, especially a little bit more, right, I don't want to say arrogant, but maybe, a little more self-assured. The negative is sometimes they act like a lion. But in reality, as soon as they get the first, smack in the face, so to speak, verbally, they stop. You want to be the opposite. You want to be almost a little bit like Columbo, right? The old TV detective. Not so much a goof, but very unassuming, confident, but not, right? That's a whole thing on people skills. But the selling part has to be more lion-like, like more like you don't give up internally, right? Your personality and demeanor isn't aggressive. So some notes. One is nudge with questions. Don't push with statements. Close with, think of like small taps instead of a sledgehammer, like the jacuzzi example, right? Slight movements in the water just to get people slightly to move a different direction. Use trial closes. My favorite one of all time is, so tell me, how are you two feeling about this so far? It's very, very broad, very general. And it's good because it'll say, yes, it's great, which is what they usually say. Or sometimes what you actually want is them to tell you what's wrong. It's all so that you can take care of it now before the close. Now be careful about some of these techniques. Don't use them more than once, maximum twice. So if you want to do another general one later on, try to say it a different way. So tell me, what's your reaction at this point? That could be a different way of saying it. Okay? I already talked about small, minor yeses. And make sure that when you transition to the close, which we're going to do right next, is that your demeanor doesn't change. So whatever way you were before, make that continuous. It's got to be a continuous process. I know in your mind you think, okay, I'm going to the close now. I get that. And you probably can't avoid that thought, but you've got to work hard at, you don't brace yourself, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but your facial expression doesn't change. But more importantly, kind of your demeanor and your tone of voice and all that doesn't get affected because now in your mind, you're going through the closing sequence. Okay, so the best closing sequence I've ever come across ever. It comes from Zig Ziglar, who, God rest his soul, passed away a few years ago. And he had a close that he called the 3-question close. And once I read it, was read it many, many years ago. I remember living way back in Maryland, right out of college when I first read the book that it was in. I think it was C at the top. I can't remember exactly which book it was in, one of Zig's books. And I came across, I thought, this is just, it's awesome. Now, over the years, I've changed it for myself to a 2-question close, and that's what I now teach. And what I like about it, let me say this, I like it so much that in our training material, our content, our wiki that we have, I've eliminated all other closing techniques. It's the only one that I use. Just because I think no one else needs to, not no one else. There's no other close you have to learn. Now, let me make one more comment before I get right into it. Many times, actually, you don't even have to make a specific closing sequence. When your presentation's done, when you're offering, what you're offering, they might just say, hey, okay, this sounds good, let's do it. Okay, that happens quite often, at least in my business, and as a financial advisor, investment advisor, it happens quite a bit. So this is more, but this is what you use when that's not the case, when you're kind of in your mind thinking, okay, they're not saying anything, I don't really have anything more to say, and I kind of want to get them to take action or at least tell me what the problem is. That's when you close. Remember, a closing is just as much about finding out what the real issue is as it is about moving the sequence forward. So it's 2 parts, 2-question close. Here's the structure. Question 1, can you see that this will get you that? Then the second and final close is they agree to that. And then you say, if you were ever going to start doing this, when do you think be the best time to start? And not with a smart ass, but so when do you think would be the best time to start? Okay. So for example, John and Mary, can you see that this program is going to help you build a retirement that lets you enjoy your golden years in complete financial security. So yeah, we can kind of see that. Yeah, we can. Great. Well, if you're ever going to begin a program to put all the pieces together and get towards that direction, when do you think would be the best time to start? And then obviously they're either going to say now, or sometimes they might actually give you a date and say, well, we're really super busy, but can we do it after the holidays? And there's a whole other objection how to overcome that. Or they'll say, well, we're actually really not ready. I mean, we see the program, we can see that, but I got a question about, excellent, that's a win for you, because now you have more data and information that you can help overcome. And then you got to go through the whole overcoming objections, do it the right way. George, can you see that by converting your whole life insurance into term insurance and getting more coverage for less cost, and then any investing that we may do, we do it in a different way? Can you see that that makes more sense? Yeah, after this presentation, I guess it really does make sense. Great. Well, if you're ever going to begin a program to get more coverage, lower cost, and the whole deal, when do you think would be the best time to start? And then the key, of course, a couple things you might have noticed. One is you shut up, you say it's slow and measured, whatever slow and measured means for you. Everyone speaks differently. And I speak a little bit slower in real life than on a video. But speak slow and calmly. But don't change your demeanor too much from the way you were speaking before, okay? When you are finished, okay, as you're saying the second question, the end of the second question, when do you think would be the best time to start? Slightly nod your head. Okay, because that's a yes. Now the response you're getting for isn't yes, it's, let's do it now, or how soon can we do it, right? That's what you want. Sometimes they ask, they don't even know that you could do it at this moment. They're like, well, when can we get it started? Oh, we can do it right now. But it's an affirmation or affirmation, is that you're affirming it's a yes, okay? So it's slight nod. And then when you're done, shut up. Slight smile, not a clown grin, but not. So when do you think it's best time to start? I mean, you guys get all that, but these are small nuances you want to work on. You want to practice, drill, and rehearse. Okay. So George, if you were ever going to begin moving from a gas car to an electric car, and all the benefits that we discussed today come into play, when do you think would be the best time to do that? A million ways, right? I mean, pick any product. So it's can you see that this does that? And by the way, they might say no. That first question is a good question. It's a gentle question, right? That most likely they're going to say, yeah, we can see that. They might say, well, actually, I don't. I have some questions. I actually don't see how this retirement. I don't see how I can get, my income stream I need at retirement with this. I'm not sure about that. Wonderful. That's a win. You want the feedback, so now you can handle the questions and answer them. But if they say, yep, I can kind of see that. And again, sometimes they'll say, yeah, we can see it, but that doesn't mean it's a yes yet. So then you say, okay, so if you're ever going to begin a program to do that, when do you think would be the best time to start? And then they say, well, right now. Now, if they say right now, here's what you do. You say, great, the next step is. You say, wonderful. Don't overdo your excitement. Oh, that's awesome, man. Yes. Yes, you made the right decision. Unbelievable. That's used cars. And they'll say, yeah, wonderful. That's what I use. You can use a different word. I wouldn't say that's the right decision, buddy. Okay? All the stuff that you see. And no one does that in real life. That's just in the TV shows. I don't think any used car store worth their salt does say things like that. But make sure you don't, especially if you're newer. Okay, what you see on TV or what you might see about sales, that's not professional sales. That's amateur hour. Professional sales are soft and gentle. They don't even know what's happening, right? You're helping them rationalize a decision good for them in a smooth, gentle, jacuzzi-like way. Anyway, so once they say, well, I guess we can do it now. Sometimes I really have people say to me, well, how soon can we do it? Say, well, we can do it right now. Here's the next steps. That's your transition phrase. Here's the next steps. You literally give them a very brief verbal outline what's going to happen. What I'm going to do is gather some information from you here in just a moment, maybe 10, 15 minutes. Then I'm going to go back home or the office or whatever. I'm going to go back and I'm going to create the actual application. I do that in DocuSign. And then I'm going to DocuSign to you, which means, have you used DocuSign before? Yes, I have. Great. So I'm going to DocuSign to you. Just click, click, click. Comes back to me. I send it on to my firm, and then then whatever, if it's a rollover, transfer, whatever product you're doing, then you tell them, So you always give them an outline because you know what's up, but they have no idea what the process is. So that's the Wonderful. Here are the next steps. Or here's what's next. Or here's the